This is the story of a piece of cloth. Seen here rescued from a fire over 2 decades ago, surviving just the latest in a series of perils across a journey through history. The first gaze upon this mysterious relic resembles a Rorschach's test of damage dating back hundreds, if not thousands of years. Zoom in a little closer, though.
The stains are real blood.
And the faint image of a tortured, crucified man comes into focus.
Typical medieval portrayals of the crucifixion show the nails in the palms, but the palms wouldn't support the weight of the body.
Look longer, and the serene face of that man becomes clear.
It seems so peaceful in comparison to the violence that you see all over the rest of the body.
Brian Hyland is an exhibit curator at the Museum of the Bible.
There have been questions about the veracity of this image ever since its first documented appearance in the late 14th century.
In 1988, carbon testing dated the shroud back to medieval times. That test has repeatedly been called into question by various experts.
The only single sample they took did not represent anywhere else on that cloth because it had been manipulated.
Now, a new scientific procedure dates fabric from the shroud to roughly 2,000 years ago. That Italian study is just the latest in a long series of scientific testing, including studies of pollen plucked from the shroud with this scientific tape dispenser.
The pollen samples that were gathered, a lot of them are from plants that are native to not just the Middle East, but specifically the area around Judea, Palestine, and Syria, as it was in that time period. There's also pollen from the area around Constantinople. There's a lot of pollen from Europe.
The pollen samples suggest a journey of thousands of miles from Jerusalem through modern-day Turkey and France, and now Italy, where the artifact has been kept since the 16th century. Some say the cloth housed in the Turin Cathedral is a vessel for human blood, and therefore may be nothing less than the Holy Grail.
When you realize that the cloth is a vessel that's containing Christ's blood, I mean, there it is. And it is blood. And not only is it blood, it's type AB, which is the type that's consistent with Palestinian Jews.
Still others call this bit of linen a forgery by none other than Leonardo Da Vinci.
We're saying it's a 500-year-old photograph by Leonardo da Vinci, and if that doesn't sound crazy enough, we're saying it's a 500-year-old photograph of Leonardo da Vinci because he used his own face as the model, because that's the kind of thing he did.
Authors Clive Prince and Lynn Picknett even put together their own experiments in an attempt to replicate the religious relic using a bust of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and comparing Da Vinci's disputed Salvator Mundi painting to the image on the shroud.
I'm no expert, but the shroud was being publicly shown 100 years before Da Vinci was born. He was a good artist, but it wasn't that good.
Barry Schwartz is a Jewish photographer based in Colorado who was called upon to photograph the shroud in the 70s.
I was biased against it. And I even said somewhere along the line to somebody that, yeah, you know, we'll get to Turin, we'll give us 5 minutes, we'll find the paint, we'll come home, we'll be done. Yeah, it's 44 years later. And there was no paint, and it's not a painting or an artwork.
No brushstrokes, and another mystery. It's 3D. Scientists using an image analyzer revealed decades ago that the lights and darks of the shroud image translate into dimensional shapes.
A normal photograph records only variations in light and does not record information about the distance the camera was from the subject. Now we'll put a picture of the shroud under the camera.
This image is clearly recognizable. This can only be explained if the intensity levels of the shroud image itself are encoded with distance information from the cloth to the body.
Now, British filmmaker David Rolfe is out with his 4th film, Who Can He Be?, investigating the Shroud of Turin, using the latest tech to digitally extract data encoded in the fabric. revealing a three-dimensional model of a man.
We can see what I believe to be the body of the crucified Jesus in front of us on a piece of cloth, whereby the only way that that image could have got onto that cloth is a miraculous one, a miracle that emanated from the body with unbelievable amounts of energy, but with an infinitesimally short space of time.
No matter the evidence, the Shroud of Turin may always remain a mystery. But for many, this mirror of the gospel, as Pope John Paul II called it, connects them to the divine. Gabe LaMonica, CBN News, Washington.